Little Mermaid. Once upon a time, nestled in the heart of the deep blue sea, existed a magnificent kingdom ruled by the Sea King, who resided there with his 6 daughters and his venerable old mother. While he cherished all his children, his heart held a special fondness for his youngest daughter, the Little Mermaid, whose name was Eva. Eva was renowned for her exquisite beauty and her profound kindness, a trait that endeared her to all the creatures of the sea. Everyone in the underwater realm was deeply fond of her. A significant event soon arrived: the birthday of the king's 5th daughter, Marina. The king's court buzzed with activity as everyone gathered to celebrate this joyous occasion. The Sea King proudly declared that Marina had turned 18 years old, a milestone that meant she was now permitted to ascend to the surface to revel in the sunlight and the fresh breeze. Amidst the cheers and congratulations, the king reminded everyone of the strict rules governing SeaWorld, emphasizing that they must be obeyed. He cautioned that the human world was distinctly different from their own and that they belonged to the sea, destined to remain there. He specifically warned them to be cautious and to avoid humans. Little Eva, with a hopeful plea, asked if she could accompany Marina. Her father, however, gently reminded her that it was not yet her turn, promising that she would be allowed to go once she reached the age of 18. Though disappointed, Eva found solace in her grandmother's words, who assured her that it was only 1 year until her turn. Her grandmother also shared insights about humans, explaining that unlike mermaids, humans possess legs. Despite this, she clarified that humans were not superior, as they had failed to protect the environment and had in fact polluted the sea. She further revealed that a human's lifespan was limited to merely 100 years or less, whereas mermaids with God's grace could live up to 300 years. A poignant truth was also revealed: when mermaids died, they would transform into sea foam and cease to exist. However, there was a profound exception. If mermaids performed good deeds throughout their lives, they would achieve immortality, and air god fairies would transport them to heaven. This revelation sparked Eva's imagination, and with the desire to see humans blossoming within her, she began counting the days until her 18th birthday. As time elapsed, the Little Mermaid's eagerness to witness the human world intensified. The night before her 18th birthday, Eva was so overwhelmed with anticipation that she could not sleep at all. The moment she arrived in the king's court on her special day, her sisters rushed to greet her, showering her with birthday wishes. Her father, the Sea King, also expressed his immense pride that his youngest daughter had turned 18, acknowledging that it was now the opportune moment to fulfill his promise. Eva, full of excitement, asked to go with her father, but he clarified that she would be 80 before he accompanied her. Teasingly calling her a mischievous child, he reiterated the warning to be careful and not to approach humans, as it could lead to trouble. The shrimp, her loyal companion, assured the king that he would take good care of her, to which the king playfully warned them to return before sunset or he would make a meal out of the shrimp. With an immense sense of happiness, the Little Mermaid set off to explore the world above, swimming with an exhilaration that made her faster than any shrimp. She could not contain her excitement. Soon the Little Mermaid reached the surface of the sea, and everything she beheld was a wondrous novelty. The vast blue sky, the brilliant sun, and the pretty birds soaring above filled her with awe, surpassing even her most beautiful dreams. Her attention was then drawn to a sound which turned out to be a ship. On board, she saw a man who strikingly resembled her doll. She recognized him as a prince, seemingly celebrating his birthday. Completely mesmerized by the prince's charm, Eva began to sing. Suddenly dark clouds began to gather in the sky, and the entire sea roared, its tide rising ominously. A storm was rapidly approaching, and Eva could feel the powerful waves. She cried out warnings to the prince, urging him to be careful as the ship was being violently rocked by the strong wind. But her desperate screams went unheard. The ship eventually succumbed to the tempest and sank without hesitation. The Little Mermaid sprang into action, saving the prince and swimming with him to the safety of the beach she anxiously waited for him to regain consciousness, imploring him to open his eyes. Just then the shrimp urged her to leave as someone was approaching. Eva had to go. The prince eventually awoke and saw another girl nearby. He thanked her for saving his life, completely unaware that it was the little mermaid who had truly rescued him. Despite the other girl receiving the credit, Eva was simply overjoyed that the prince was alive. As the sun began to set, Eva and her companion returned to the kingdom. Back in her kingdom, the little mermaid was overcome with profound sadness, believing she would never again be able to see her beloved prince. She whispered her love for him, lamenting the pain she felt inside while acknowledging that love was the most beautiful thing in the universe. She questioned if it could also be bad. She declared that she desperately wanted to live with her love, even if it meant defying the sea law. Her loyal shrimp, witnessing her despair, cautiously proposed an idea, warning her of its extreme risk and the potential wrath of her father. Undeterred, Eva urged him to reveal it, assuring him not to worry about her father. The shrimp then spoke of a powerful being who might help, but emphasized that dealing with her was exceedingly dangerous. The sea witch of Black Mountains. Eva, willing to risk everything for her prince, insisted on knowing who this person was. Without a moment's hesitation, the little mermaid and the shrimp left the palace, embarking on the perilous journey to the witch's den. Meanwhile, in her light, the sea witch observed the little mermaid's approach. Through her magic ball, she recognized Eva as the most loved and helpful creature of the sea. Knowing that Eva's good deeds would eventually transform her into an air fairy in the afterlife, this transformation would paradoxically bring an end to all the witch's own sins, but it would also mean the end of her life. The witch, unwilling to let this happen, decided to act. When Eva and the shrimp arrived, the witch feigned surprise at the king's daughter coming to her den. Eva, with unwavering resolve, stated her wish to become human, all for the young prince. She openly declared her love for him. The witch warned her that this path would lead to sorrow, but Eva remained steadfast, proclaiming that she did not care and simply wanted to be with him. The witch then presented her offer. She could indeed turn Eva into a human, but it would come at a price. Eva, willing to pay anything, agreed. The witch demanded the little mermaid's beautiful voice in return. Terms were clear. If the prince truly fell in love with her, she would become human and her voice would be restored. However, if she failed to win his love, she would die of a broken heart and dissolve into sea foam. Eva, undeterred, declared her willingness to sacrifice anything for him. The witch then provided her with a magic potion, instructing her to drink it. Upon reaching the seashore, the little mermaid took the potion and made her way to the beach. As she reached the surface and drank the potion, a sudden intense pain overwhelmed her, causing her to lose consciousness. Her tail transformed into legs. When she awoke, she found the prince by her side. He greeted her, assuring her she was safe, and explained that he had found her on the beach and brought her there, advising her to rest. The following day, the little mermaid began to walk. The prince observed her, his face alight with happiness. He expressed his joy, inviting her to dance. He was captivated by her graceful movements, remarking on how wonderfully she danced, and proclaimed it a great day for him. Believing he had found the love of his life, he believed she was in love with him too. Soon after, his father returned, and the prince eagerly introduced Eva, declaring her the love of his life and stating his desire to marry her, explaining that she had saved his life. The king, seeing his son's happiness, gave his blessing. Despite the prince's heartfelt declarations, the little mermaid was utterly heartbroken, feeling a terrible pain in her heart. The king then publicly announced the marriage of the prince. Eva felt she had lost him forever, knowing that the first ray of dawn would bring her death and she would disappear into the ocean. Meanwhile, the shrimp rushed back to the palace and relayed everything to the sea king and his daughters. The king, recognizing this as the witch's deceitful trick, prayed to the sea goddess. He then took his trident and, accompanied by the shrimp, swam towards the surface. Simultaneously, all of Eva's sisters began swim and towards the witch's den. The sisters pleaded with the witch to reverse her magic spell, expressing their despair over their sister's plight. The witch, in a seemingly shameful act, offered a counter spell. However, the price was horrific. The little mermaid would have to kill the prince with a magical dagger to transform back into a mermaid. The sisters, upon learning of this gruesome solution, swam back to the surface and informed their father. They found Eva sitting under a tree on the beach looking at a toy, tears streaming down her face. Her father and sisters were also crying, urging her to undo the witch's magic by killing the prince, explaining that he could never be hers. The king pleaded with her to do it for him, declaring that he would die without her, calling her his baby. The little mermaid looked at her weeping father and sisters. She took the dagger and went towards the palace. Finding the prince asleep in his room, she raised the dagger towards his chest, intending to kill him, but at the critical moment she could not bring herself to do it. She realized she would rather die happily than kill her love. With a heart full of selflessness, she wished him good luck, hoping he could marry his love and live happily. She then returned to her father and her sisters, who were all shocked to see the dagger, which bore no blood. The sun was about to rise. She walked towards the beach, her toy in hand, and plunged into the sea, wishing to disappear and turn into foam, bidding farewell to her love, her daddy and her sisters, asking for their forgiveness. Suddenly a mysterious force lifted her out of the water. The air fairies appeared, pulling her from the sea. Her father, grateful, thanked them for saving his daughter's life. The fairies explained that she was now with them in the sky, being given a reward for her immense kindness and her selfless love towards both humans and sea creatures. She was to receive an immortal soul and would be born as a human in the future. Eva expressed her profound gratitude to the godmother. She waved a final goodbye to everyone, softly declaring her eternal love for her sweet prince and expressing her hope that in her next birth he would once again be her love. With these heartfelt words, she ascended higher and higher into heaven with the air fairies. An insightful analysis of this narrative reveals several deeply interwoven themes and character motivations. The central conflict revolves around the stark contrast between the mermaid world's laws and the human world. Particularly concerning love and destiny, mermaids are bound by strict rules, prohibited from interacting with humans and their natural lifespan, while long culminates in dissipation into sea foam, unless they achieve immortality through good deeds. This concept of turning into sea foam is a recurring motif, representing the ultimate, seemingly meaningless end for mermaids who do not fulfill the higher purpose. Eva's initial fascination with the human world is not just curiosity but a burgeoning desire for something beyond her predetermined existence. Her grandmother's explanation of human mortality versus mermaid longevity and the path to immortality through good deeds plants a crucial seed in Eva's mind, perhaps subconsciously influencing her later choices. Love and sacrifice form the undeniable core of Eva's journey. Her love for the prince is immediate and overwhelming, driving her to disregard all rules and warnings. This passionate, all-consuming love leads her to seek out the dangerous sea witch, willingly offering her most cherished attribute, her beautiful voice, for a chance at human form and a life with her beloved. The witch's terms are brutal, highlighting the ultimate stakes of Eva's gamble: true love or eternal dissolution. The prince's love, however, is presented as superficial and based on a mistaken identity. He quickly believes another girl saved him and almost instantly falls for Eva's physical presence and dancing, mistaking it for the love of his life and immediately wishing to marry her. This stark contrast underscores the purity and depth of Eva's selfless love versus the prince's more superficial understanding of affection. The witch's motivation is particularly intriguing and provides a layer of complexity beyond simple villainy. She is not just malicious, her actions are driven by a desperate desire to avoid her own demise. Eva's inherent goodness and the accumulation of her good deeds mean that she is destined to become an air fairy, which would paradoxically end the witch's life and her state of sin. This revelation shifts the witch from a purely evil antagonist to a character whose dark machinations are fundamentally acts of self-preservation, making her more pragmatic than purely malevolent. Her counter-spell, which forces Eva into an impossible moral choice, is a desperate last attempt to secure her own continued existence. The power of family love and selflessness is another powerful theme. The king's deep affection for Eva is evident from the beginning, and his despair when she faces death is palpable. The loyalty of the shrimp who risks being a meal for the king, and the unwavering support of Eva's sisters who bravely confront the witch illustrate the strong familial bonds within the Sea Kingdom. Their collective desperation to save Eva leads them to bring her the magical dagger. Despite the horrifying implications, however, Eva's ultimate act of refusing to kill the prince, choosing her own dissolution over causing harm to the one she loves, is the pinnacle of self-sacrificing love. This choice, which seems to seal her fate, instead triggers the ultimate reward: immortality, not as sea foam but as a being destined for heaven and rebirth. This reinforces the initial lesson from her grandmother that good deeds lead to immortality, suggesting that her final act of profound selflessness was the ultimate good deed, securing her place among the air fairies and promising a future human life where true love might finally flourish. The story ultimately celebrates the triumph of pure selfless love over selfish desires, even those of survival.